Is it too early to be talking about the World Cup? Well, I need to take you back to the Qatar World Cup held last year. Qatar is about to host the AFC Cup next in about a month and a half, but the concerns from the last World Cup has not yet been sorted. So in October, news came out that 38 or around 40 Filipino migrant workers sued the firm Jacob Solutions and its subsidiary CH2M for labor exploitation and human trafficking. And these were all migrant workers that worked at the World Cup sites in Doha. And looking at the details of the case, this is just textbook forced labor conditions of passport confiscation, cramped, unhygienic quarters to live in, living quarters, and working in the extreme heat for up to 72 hours without food or water. This particular news report has gotten significant traction because this is, I think, maybe the first time after the Qatar World Cup that workers have actually managed to file a lawsuit, or not in Qatar but in another country, but citing these specific issues and also holding these businesses accountable for their working conditions. So there are three things that I want to touch upon here, which is the history of reported cases of abuse since the preparations for the World Cup began in 2014, 2015. The seriousness of these allegations and what they actually mean, and finally the responses of the stakeholders. Firstly, in 2014, the Confederation of Dutch Trade Unions filed a lawsuit against FIFA, holding them responsible for the working conditions of the migrant workers in Qatar. However, the case was dismissed by a Swiss judge where the FIFA headquarters are located. At the start of the year, in January 2023, about 200 security guards hired buses to take them to the headquarters of the company and negotiate for their unpaid wages. However, the police were called, the workers were detained, sent to a detention center, and more than 200 were later deported. As of May 2023, 3 of the former security guards are still in prison. 2 of them are Pakistani, 1 is an Indian national. They were sentenced to 6 months in prison and fined 10,000 riyals for their involvement in strikes, I'm assuming. But hundreds of other security guards that worked for the same company, Stark Services, have come out to say that they were all terminated from their contracts, even though they were provided a 2-year contract. And now most of them are without a job after the World Cup. After the World Cup, reports are rife of migrant workers losing wages, losing jobs, having to return, being deported, being detained, being arrested. For example, in March 2023, 8 global unions came together to put out a statement and allege that threats, arrests, and there was a sudden halt of cooperation with these unions from the government side, including the International Trade Union Confederation, who until then had been working with the Qatar government to improve labor standards within the country. With regards to the unpaid wages and recruitment fees, the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, which was established around the time of the FIFA World Cup, and I think for this very purpose, in fact, stated that workers are not supposed to come to Qatar after paying recruitment fees. It is illegal. Recruitment fees are illegal. They also stated that they had set up a voluntary scheme. Again, voluntary scheme for companies that have these contracts with the World Cup to partially repay these fees. Again, partially repay these fees to the workers. It also stated that in 2022, it had shut down about 45 recruiting agencies for not complying with the law. Again, it's a tip of the iceberg for a country that's been importing workers throughout these past 9 years just for the preparations of the World Cup. So that's with regard to context of the cases. I don't want this video to be too long, so I will be discussing the next 2 parts in the next videos, I guess, that I post. Thanks for following along so far. Like and share. Thanks.